Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Jen and Sharon. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Hi, Jen. I brought my beverage today.
Oh, good. I brought water today. I'm hydrating today. This is my mom mug. I
Yeah.
bought these Tervis tumblers many years ago. I bought one for each member of our family in different patterns so that they would know.
Yeah.
It's like a less than subtle hint from me, like the one that for my husband says dad on it. And then the girls each got different ones. And my thought was maybe this will keep them from getting a new glass every time they go to the cupboard.
And did not work.
No, of course not.
Jen, I know this isn't what we're supposed to be talking about, but
Go for it.
isn't it true, or is it just my house, that water bottles reproduce
Yes.
in your house and
They
never leave?
They reproduce and they never leave. And when you call people out on that fact and you say, and you lay them all out and say, we have a lot of water bottles. We have like 8 water bottles per capita in our home, and maybe some of them could go. Nobody wants to vote any of them off the island. Like I might pick one and say, I haven't seen this one being used in forever. Could we get rid of this one? No, I got that one at the 4th grade carnival, and it's important to me. I want to keep it. I mean, people get very invested in their drinking.
And I can't imagine if I wanted to get rid of them. Who wants the water bottles? Don't they all have 20 in their house too?
Right.
I don't know.
People who are organizing things, stop giving out the plastic water bottles. Just stop.
Yes.
Don't need any more, please. I beg you. That isn't really what we came here to talk about today, but it was sort of an organic topic. So,
what are we talking about, Jen?
I don't know. Actually, right before we went live, I was cracking up because Sharon said, "Oh, where did I put my thoughts?"
I meant my written thoughts. We're talking today about when to worry, when not to worry, how we know if it's one of those times where we say it's going to be okay, and one of those times that our actual worry can accomplish something that helps our kid along the way, right, Jen?
Absolutely. Have you ever had this happen where you're worried that you're not worried enough? Had that? Because I have had that. I'm like, everybody else seems really worried about X, and I don't feel worried about it. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I should be more worried about it. And the one that springs to mind is about college prep.
Yes.
You get really worried really early about like taking SAT and ACT tests, and also how many AP classes to take and not take. And I was kind of happy to let my kid's guidance counselor lead the way on that. And every once in a while, I would just check in with her and be like, should I be worried yet? I'm not worried. Should I be more worried? And she's like, no, you don't need to be. I'm like, okay, good. I'll take her advice and not be worried about it. But you can't help it when you see other parents getting worried about it. You're like, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not worried enough. What is wrong?
It's contagious worry. And sometimes it can alert you to something you should know about, I guess. I mean, if all your friends are buying good car seats and installing them, right, maybe it was good if you said, oh, maybe my car seat isn't in the right way. I don't know. Sometimes it could be useful, I guess.
There's no doubt that there are times when I probably should have been more worried than I was, but I also feel like there were plenty of times when I worried needlessly. And I would have loved it if somebody could have, maybe a future me could have come back to present tense me and said, just stop worrying about that. That isn't going to matter. You're on the wrong track.
What's funny, Jen, is I was just talking to a friend about this kind of stuff the other day, and we both have teenagers, and we were talking about a particular worry, the path your kid is taking or whether they're on track where they should be. And everybody always says it's going to work out. And that's nice. That in a few years we'll be able to say that. And I told her, I said, it's kind of like potty training. Everybody says, oh, they'll get it. They're not going to go to college in diapers. It will happen. But guess who has to be there every step of the way until it happens? Guess who's there for the day-to-day, shepherding that kid through all the messes and, the reminders and the corrections if they're necessary. Right. I mean, even knowing it's going to be okay doesn't make it easy necessarily, right? If you have to be there every day.
It doesn't necessarily absolve you of the need to worry about some of those things along the way too. So it's such a delicate balance. I want to be I want the worry needle, the anxiety needle to be just in the right spot
Yeah.
where I'm just anxious enough that I know I'm being vigilant and I'm being a good parent, but not so much so that I'm over parenting or being a nervous Nelly or having a breakdown. Um, and let me just say, I'm going to put a plug out there because one of the reasons we were talking about this topic came up is because Lucky Sharon has a really fabulous interview
Oh,
scheduled for
yes.
tomorrow with she and I have both loved this author,
Yeah.
Mary Laura Philpot, whose book I happen to have right here. I haven't delved into it yet. I cannot wait to read
good.
it. But if I know Sharon's reading it, maybe has already read it, and she is a memoirist, exceptional memoirist, and she, as a parent of teenagers, talks about times that she, how her anxiety manifested at times. You can talk about it better than I
Well,
read it.
I'm not going to say too much because I'm sure
Sure.
Mary Laura can tell us so much more. She talks about balancing joy and worry in life and all those contradictions in life and how bad things are happening and good things are happening at the same time, and how being human and loving people is all tangled up with this, this goodness and this badness all at once. So very excited to talk to her tomorrow. It'll be at 10:30 the same time.
Right.
But getting practical, Jen.
Yes, let's get practical.
For today, I was thinking about this. I was gathering my thoughts.
Did you find your thoughts?
The thoughts that I lost before.
Yes.
No, I made notes actually, because sometimes we have index cards and sometimes I just write them in my little notebook. But I was thinking there are times when we really do need to worry. And things, you don't mess around. And I was thinking, first of all, I just trust the experts on that. And two things that came to mind right away are if your kid is suicidal in any way, if anybody is, they always say, don't mess around, take it seriously, even if they're just thinking about it, get help now. So, and the other thing, maybe not you don't need to do it within an hour like that. But one other thing I've heard about don't mess around is eating disorders. So if your child has disordered eating, don't hope it will straighten itself out. Address it right away, because that could, get cumulatively more difficult to deal with. And I'm sure there are many other things in this vein where you don't mess around.
Absolutely. And this is a good example of how, like, sometimes, are you more of a glass half full or a glass half empty parent? I feel like it's very tempting, or maybe even logical, to sometimes employ a little bit of magical thinking and hoping some things will get better, because it's just so hard to deal with. I mean, anything to do with our kids' mental health. And we know that nationally, globally, there is a mental health crisis right now. By the way, May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Okay. All right.
And it's such a hard thing to deal with. And it's easier sometimes to think it's hard right now, but I think it's going to get better. It'll probably get better. There are some things that aren't going to get better without addressing them and talking to an expert and getting some help on board. And some of the things you just mentioned are definitely those things. So those are the times where I feel like, okay, I need to make sure the worry dial is on the right location.
Right.
But then there are things that, like I said, before, there might be some things that we tend to over worry about that I'd like to move the dial the other way and say, okay, it really is. And I think what you talked about, like worrying about their future or their path, like when you are raising teenagers, sometimes it's hard to envision that they're ever going to be fully functioning adults who will fledge and function on their own and have a job that they go to every day. I think those are things at some point that is really kind of off your plate. It's not, you get them to a certain point and then they have to do the rest.
And it's steps ahead too. I mean, how is this going to turn out years from now? Obviously, you can't do anything about that right now. You can't fix that. We might, of course, as parents, we're going to think those things. But sometimes, we need to say, yes, of course we're thinking about that, but there's nothing we can do about it now. Right?
Yeah. So maybe there should be a delayed worry setting. Wouldn't that be good? If you're like, okay, this is something I know I'm going to need to worry about, but not right now. So maybe I could just put this in a little box and put it over here and I'll worry about that later.
Have you ever heard of, mental health practitioners say, set aside time to worry? That's actually a thing for people with anxiety. They say,
writing this down.
Have a worry time.
Scheduling it. What time is a good time for that? I'd like to know. Is it 2 o'clock today? Is that
3 a.m., Jen.
That's not a great time.
Isn't that when all the worries pop up? Actually, I think that's what they say. You know, if you wake up worrying, write the stuff down, because if you don't give it a place to get out, it's going to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to sneak up when you're sleeping and it's going to burst out. So maybe we do need to let it out with a friend or here with us, vent to us.
Yeah. Okay. So here's an idea. If you have a worry that you want to offload for a little while, why don't you drop it in the comments and we'll babysit it for you. We'll take really good care of it. You can have it back later if you want it. But sometimes just telling somebody else, what don't they say? Like a worry shared is a worry halved.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
And it could be, some of these worries are big, of course, but some of them can be silly. Like if I think about things that I fret about on a daily basis and usually you wind up nagging about or something, it's like, this kid's leaving their clothes on the floor. Like, okay, it's annoying. Eventually it needs to stop, preferably as soon as possible. But is it really something to worry about? Probably. You know, should it be occupying my brain space?
Right. Should this have been occupying my brain space?
The water bottles, right? How many water bottles?
This was so much easier for me to worry about than whether they were preparing for the ACT. So I chose this to occupy the worry nugget in my brain. I think
sometimes we want control. I sometimes think that's what like decluttering is about, or cleaning the house, or whatever your preferred method of control is. Like there's so many things that there's a small thing we can bring order to. But
I love it. Good idea. So anyway, tell us what's on your mind. We would like to know what else we're forgetting to worry about. So can you tell us? I'm worried that I'm not worried about enough things. So tell us what else we missed that we should be worried about, and what things maybe you worry about that you shouldn't have bothered to. And we'll share back with you when we get it all sorted out on our end.
Sounds good.
So don't forget, tomorrow at 10:30 in this space, Sharon's going to be talking to somebody who's not me. I'm a little bit jealous. I wish I could crash, but I will be somewhere.
Jen, please come and be in the comments at the very least.
All right, I'll see if I can. I might have to sneak out of a meeting to do it, but I will do it because I am a fangirl for sure of Mary Laura. So, so join us tomorrow. Join Sharon tomorrow at 10:30. Same bat channel, same bat place.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
we will
everybody.
see you then.